Wonderboy looked like he'd been in a 15-round war. Kevin Holland didn't even look like he was in a fight.
You go to a UFC show from top to bottom, it is stacked.
We already had a prison melee break out in the house.
Is he doing something like the Ultimate Fighter with it? That's what does my head in when idiots talk about fighter pay. You get paid what you're worth.
Every fighter that's under contract, if you want to tell the media what you're paid, that's up to you.
He uses fighters for clicks and then tries to have the audacity saying that they don't pay the fighters enough.
It's the best podcast I've ever been on.
What's happening? We're back again. A special episode of Chattin Pony. It's fight week, and I've got to let you know, as always, we're not just on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, all of that stuff. Give us 5 stars, you know that. And if you want some of the latest Paddy merch, like this, the Paddy way, yeah, get on the Apex website, and it's all on there. But as I say, today we have special guest in the UFC PI, and it's me boss, Dana White. How are we, fella? You good?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. Feel great at the minute, to be honest. Weight's perfect, and I just can't wait to blow the roof off the gaff on Saturday night.
I'm excited. This card's good. This card's stacked with a lot of good fights, man.
Well,
and Saturday was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that card on Saturday in Orlando was sold out, broke the record in America for fight night, and the crowd was awesome, man.
Did it beat our fight night?
It was the biggest fight night ever in America.
No, I mean our one in the UK.
Oh, no. In America. No.
You know that. It's not beating our
one. That's why I said in America. Yeah, no.
It's not beating our one. But yeah, obviously we'll get right into it with UFC 282. First of all, though, I do want to say, like, crazy what has happened with Jiri. And, like, how bad is that injury? Because everyone's going on like it's one of the worst injuries he's ever seen. Yeah,
so, that night when it all went down and we had our doctor look at him, the doctor literally said, in all the years of the UFC, this is the worst shoulder injury we've ever seen. So it's pretty nasty. And, him being the savage that he is, he still wanted to fight. And, he said, I could do it. No, you can't fight. You can't fight, kid. But, he tore it good. What happened was it popped out, and he had some guys there at the gym.
Try and put it back in?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Ripped the shit out of it and destroyed his shoulder. So, I told him, tell all the fighters, if anything happens to you, jump in a car and go to the hospital. We will pay for people think that these guys at the gym can, fix your shoulder, do this shit, that shit. Don't even risk it. Just go to the hospital. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I couldn't believe it when I read it all, but now, obviously, and in fact, need to shout out Jiri, to be honest, for vacating the belt. You know what I mean? A lot of people would not do that. The way he done that, shows what a warrior he is and the mentality he's got.
That night when we were in there and we were having the meeting and we were talking about the possibility of him fighting again, and he was saying, I think I can come back in 5 months and all this shit. And the doctor was with us too, and the doctor was like, you need to start being realistic about this. And the thing that I told him is, I don't want you to put that type of pressure on you where you feel like you have to, come back in 5 or 6 months and destroy your shoulder again. Take the time, do it right, get the right surgery. And that night he decided, then I'm not going to hold up the division. I'm going to vacate the title. Yeah,
I couldn't get over it when I seen it. Yeah, stud. Absolute stud. Your spot's on there. But because of that now, we have a new main event, which is obviously Jan Blachowicz versus Ankalaev. And I've seen Ankalaev in here. He's a big dude.
Big dude.
Yeah, he's a big dude. I've never met Jan in person, so I don't know how big he is just yet. Hopefully I see him over the next few days. But what do you think of the new main event?
Yeah. It's a badass fight too. I got to say this too about Jiri. He will be still looked at as the champ. He never lost the belt. He vacated it. These guys will fight for the title. We'll see how many fights there might actually be 2 fights that happen before he's able to return after that shoulder surgery. So, but yeah, this should be a fun one. And the card is absolutely stacked with great fights.
So we're going to be thinking Glover's probably going to be #1 contender now. Whoever wins this fight will fight Glover next.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the fight was offered to Glover. He didn't want to take the fight. So there'll probably be 2 fights before Jiri comes back. So it would be Glover.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for the main event, to be honest. But let's move on to that and get on to the people's main event. Yours truly, you know what I mean? And when obviously all that happened, I was getting loads of messages. That's the Jiri's pulled out, don't know what's happening, that fight's off, you could be co-main event. And then literally about half an hour later, I was lying in bed, because it's an 8-hour time difference back home, lying in bed, and I just seen UFC Europe put it up. Main event, Jan Blachowicz versus Ankalaev. Co-main event, Paddy The Baddy versus Jared Gordon. And I was just like, yes, this
I love it.
Like, I feel terrible for Jiri and Glover, but it's like it was meant to be.
Right.
That's what it feels like for me anyway. You know what I mean?
100%.
I feel like
I mean, you're right there. I mean, your co-main event on this pay-per-view, you win this fight, you'll be headlining a fight night pretty soon here. So
definitely, I can't wait for it. But you'll be losing out on money then, Dana. You need me on these pay-per-views.
Yeah, listen, you're fun on pay-per-views too. But you know, it's not bad. You know, headlining your own show somewhere.
No,
but
it's
like
not.
last weekend, you know,
Yeah.
the fight we were just talking about on Saturday. You know, those two were the headline of the show, and they delivered.
That was a scrap.
Incredible fight.
Unbelievable.
Incredible fight.
Like, I proper like both of them fighters as well, to be honest. Like, I've met Kevin Holland before as well. He's cool. And I just couldn't believe it when he stood up at this in the second round. Especially when you found out after the fight that his hand was already broke.
Right.
And he just went, nah, come on, let's stand up. Let's
100%.
fight. When he had one hand.
Well, you could see it too. You know, his hand probably broke blocking one of those kicks. You saw him put his hand up, and Wonderboy kicked him so hard. It had to have happened during the kick.
I read something, the punch what he rocked him with in the first.
Yeah.
It was that what done it.
Really?
So if that done it, he got kicked in it like 3 times after that.
Hard,
like big spinning back kicks to the
100%.
hand with his heel. That was...
Yeah. No, listen, Kevin Holland's a stud. He's a tough guy. And he's one of the first guys to ever really make Wonderboy scrap. You know what I mean? Wonderboy has that style where he likes to run around and pick people apart. And when you think about all the fights with him and Woodley, you know. But Kevin Holland made him stand in there, and respect to Wonderboy for doing it. He did.
Yeah.
He stood and they went toe to toe. He was hitting him with that straight left hand over and over and over again.
I thought that was what was going to catch Holland, but Holland's got a chin on him, man.
Chin and a half.
And he doesn't even look like he's been in a fight.
Yeah.
His face, he hasn't got no marks or nothing. It's just his hand. And Wonderboy looks all beat up.
That's what was crazy. Wonderboy looked like he'd been in a 15-round war. Kevin Holland didn't even look like he was in a fight.
Yeah, that was what was crazy
but
after.
Kevin Holland did hit him with some big right hands, too.
Yeah. I'm going to have to mention that Pavlovich as well, though, just because people have been tagging me and things saying this is Paddy Pimblett's big brother.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, he looked unbelievable.
Yeah, I was waiting for those two to gas out, and they didn't. They just kept dropping bombs.
They were just swinging at each other, but always straight shots down the middle, win all the time. But back to 282. I was going to move on to the next fight, Lawler Ponzinibbio, but I read something before about Lawler being out.
Yeah, we just found out that Lawler got hurt in training, and we're working on that fight.
So good, trying to get someone new for Ponzinibbio.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice. Next fight then, me fellow Scouser, Darren Till. He's fighting Duplessis. I hope I've said his name right. I met Duplessis. Right. I met Duplessis the other day in the PI. He's another big dude.
He really is.
Yeah,
that's a good fight. That's a
very good fight.
Yeah, big fight for Till too.
Yeah, it's a bit of a comeback fight for him, isn't he? He hasn't fought since my debut.
Yeah, it's September. Duplessis is finally fighting a big name like Till, and Till needs this win.
Yeah, he does. You're not wrong there. And then obviously finishing off the main card is Bryce Mitchell versus Hand Sanitizer Boy.
Yep.
So
now he's always fun.
Yeah,
that's a fun fight.
Yeah, I hope Bryce absolutely schools him. But that's all I'm going to say on the matter.
What's that?
I hope Bryce absolutely schools him.
All right.
That's all.
He talked so fast the first time I didn't understand what he said.
Everyone always says that to me, I talk too quick.
I said, this podcast is going to be interesting because I can't hear. And with that accent, I said, oh, this is going to be interesting. But it's been good right up until there.
Yeah, I'll try and slow it down a bit for you.
Right.
A lot of Americans say that to me. I still get people commenting on me vlogs now, even though me vlogs have been going for nearly a year or something, I'd say, or a year. And I still get comments saying, where have the subtitles gone? Please put the subtitles back on. Because when people turn the captions on YouTube, you want to see what comes up, Dana.
Right.
Like,
and what part of England are you from that the accent is that hardcore?
Liverpool. Like, it's same as Till, you know what I mean? But we're just different. It's crazy about in England because I can go drive 10 minutes away from ours and they talk like this, lad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Talk like that.
Yeah.
And then you can go somewhere else about an hour down the road and they talk completely different, like Leon.
Yeah.
Leon speaks completely different.
So true.
And that's only 2 hours away.
Yeah, I noticed that about England and Ireland too. Every time I hear you talk, I feel like I'm watching Snatch.
Do you like dogs?
Exactly.
No, what I did want to ask you about, though, just because they were all here yesterday, the slappers.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, did you see them?
Yeah, we come in to do my last S&C session yesterday.
Lunatics, man.
And I've got it out. Where did that idea come from? When did you think of that?
We already had a prison-type melee break out in the house.
What if is he doing something like the Ultimate Fighter with it?
Yeah, we're filming the next 2 weeks here. You know, doing you know, it's sort of like the Ultimate Fighter meets the Contender is what this thing is. When these guys come out of this first season, they'll be ranked, world ranked. So, and then it all leads into a pay-per-view. But yeah, it's been crazy. We've only been filming for like a week, and I feel like I've been filming for 2 months. It's crazy, man. These dudes are nuts. So
harder work than the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, different than the Ultimate Fighter. Very different.
I know that's what I've got to ask you about, because that first season of the Ultimate Fighter, that's one of the craziest, best programs I've ever seen.
True.
I obviously never watched it live.
Yeah.
I mean, the first season I watched live was season 10.
Oh, really?
Rampage Rashad. I watched that week by week because that was when I was first getting into MMA and the UFC. 14.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. Yeah, it's amazing to me when I look back now and you know, I meet young guys like you. You know, a lot of these guys grew up on the Ultimate Fighter, and that's how they got into MMA. And yeah, it's a fun show to film, man. It really is.
Like years ago, I always said, "Oh, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that," but I know a few of the lads from the gym might want to do that nowadays, and it's back, isn't it?
Yeah,
the Ultimate
it's back. We're doing one season a year, so yeah, you could end up coaching one of these teams.
Oh, I'd definitely coach one of them teams. You just let me know, and I'll be on there ready. Deal. I can't wait to do that. As I say, that would be spectacular. I've said that to all these in the past. I'd love to coach a season of the Ultimate Fighter. How cool is that?
You were watching it at 14, and that's what got you into it, and then you end up coaching it.
I know. I'll never forget that season as well when Rampage was kicking doors down and that.
Yeah, that was a crazy season.
But his team got absolutely smoked.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think he got beat by Forrest at basketball too, didn't he? In the coaches challenge.
Yeah, Rashad. It was really Rashad.
That's right.
Yeah, it was a few seasons before, but he done it with Forrest, wasn't it? When he was the champ.
You're right.
And then it was Rashad because they always just remember.
Yeah, the Rashad one was good too.
Yeah,
those two hated each other.
I always just remember Titties.
Titties, that's right.
Daryl Schoonover.
Titties almost fought Rampage for calling Titties.
Yeah, he
Remember
did.
That?
He nearly had a straightener. That's hilarious, that, you know. But obviously we spoke about the Ultimate Fighter, didn't I? Go back to the start when you first got involved in MMA and like the UFC. When did you ever think it'd get to these levels?
Yeah, I mean, if you see interviews with me like 18 years ago, I say this is going to be the biggest sport in the world. It's going to be global. It's going to be this and that. I always believed that it would do this. You just don't, you know, you can't really wrap your head around, you know, it really happening and how big it's really going to be. And, you know, that's where we are and where we're going still. We, you know, we're still going to do events in Africa. We're going back to South Korea this year. You know, we're going to start moving around again. So it's going to, you know, some of these events when we get back there, you know, some of these places we have either never been or we haven't been back to in 3 or 4 years. Canada is one of them too.
I was just about to say, I have a few fans who are from Canada that are saying they can't wait for you to come back to Canada.
100%. So, you know, as we start to go into these markets again, I won't miss one of those shows. It's gonna those are gonna be fun. The energy and the buzz will be insane, and I'm looking forward to it in 23.
Yeah, Africa though, yeah. When does that definitely happen?
I'm going to build a PI in Africa too. We're still building the one down in Mexico. That's coming along good right now. And then I want to build one in Africa.
Yeah. Have you any idea what country or?
We don't know yet. That's what we're still looking at. I want to find a spot like we did in Mexico. We found a spot where, you know, it makes a lot of sense and where we can get a lot of. This isn't going to be a PI like the PI here. Like the PI here is for you guys, the professionals that come in. I want to bring kids in off the street and get them to start training in mixed martial arts in the PI, you know, and we'll provide them with education on how to train, how to cut weight, you know, all the things they couldn't get without a facility like the PI. Yeah. And it'll all be free. Won't cost them anything.
That's amazing.
I mean, these are the kind of things that we do to help grow and build the sport and to make the sport, bigger.
Yeah.
Unlike boxing, who every event was a going out of business sale, and they tried to get as much money as they could, and they invested nothing back into the sport.
Yeah.
And look where the sport is today.
I think I've said it for years. UFC has taken over boxing. I think it already has by now because the cards are so slim. Like, people go just for the main event.
100%.
You go to a UFC show from top to bottom, it is stacked.
Orlando was a fight night. Did you see the early fights?
Yeah.
The place was 95% full the first fight of the night. And the energy remained the same throughout the entire night because the card absolutely delivered, But yeah, I mean, that's the difference. And what happens is, when we bring in guys, if you look at how fast you've grown, how much you've blown up in such a short amount of time, Sugar Sean O'Malley, and the list goes on and on. Kevin Holland. I mean, all these guys that came in off the Contender Series. Once you get inside this machine, you start to notice everything starts to grow from your social media, sponsorship, et cetera, and you don't have to become a world champion and defend your title 6 times before anybody even knows who the f*** you are in the UFC. And that's how it was in boxing.
That's what does my head in when idiots talk about fighter pay. We get paid what you're worth. Know what I mean?
Yep.
I hate all these journalists, especially the ones what earn off us. Know what I mean? Like Ariel Helwanil in particular. Like, he loves earning money off fighters.
Yep.
Like, every decent job he's had, he's been sacked from. Know what I mean? Like, and now he's just a biased content creator.
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
100%.
And he hates on you, hates on the UFC, even hates on me now.
Yeah.
And it proper annoys me because he uses fighters for clicks, uses fighters to make money, and then tries to have the audacity to talk about the UFC and yourself, saying that they don't pay the fighters enough. Get your dough out, Ariel. Know what I mean? Start paying people for these interviews, what you make thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds on. And I know that now because I make money off YouTube. So I know how much he earns off YouTube, off all his interviews, what he does. And you're doing it for exposure. No, you're not. You're doing it to put money in your pocket, Ariel. You little rodent. Lad.
Woo! I just sat back and let that go. I didn't want to interrupt. He's a massive sack of is what he is.
Exactly.
He's the biggest piece of all time, and I couldn't have said it better.
He wanted, like, when I was in New York for the MSG card last year, he wanted me to do an interview with him, and I had a paid interview that day, and he wanted me to really let go of that paid interview to do an interview with him for BT Sport, what he's getting paid for. And he said, "Oh no, that's me journalist integrity. You're not a journalist no more.
Far from it.
You're a content creator, Ariel. You're not a journalist. Stop lying. You're very biased in what you do and what you say."
So true.
And he went on his MMA hour and talked about me and my manager. And then I ended up messaging him. They're going to have to bleep this out, but my first line was, "You're a cheeky you." Know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he didn't like it. But I was just me being honest. Know what I mean? He was talking about me, saying that I can't believe fighters and managers have got the audacity to ask me for money. Why wouldn't we? You're a content creator.
Wait, who the f*** are you? Who the f*** are you? This dude's ego is so massive, and he thinks he's whatever. You know what the great thing is about him? He's completely disappeared. So since ESPN let him go, I don't even see, nothing even pops up. I hear nothing about him. I see nothing about him. I literally don't even know that guy exists unless somebody brings him up to me. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and you're exactly right. He's a piece of.
Yeah, he is. He's a maggot. Yeah. And the worst thing about him is he goes on all his interviews. Dad, he pisses me off. He goes, "I haven't got a horse in this race." Yeah, you have. It's called putting money in your pocket.
You're the horse in this.
You're the horse in this race, and he acts like he's fighters' friends.
Oh yeah.
Know what I mean? Like when I messaged him about that time, he was like, "Paddy, the other week when your Instagram got disabled, I was the one sharing it for you." I was like, "Yeah, to suck me ass, so that the next time you ask for an interview, I'd do it for you."
100%.
Know what I mean? Like it pisses me off that he pretends to be people's friends when he's not. He's a lizard.
He's one of the slimiest, scummiest motherfuckers that you will ever come across.
Yeah, I can't wait for this to get clipped out and go onto Instagram. I can't wait.
He's a slimy, scummy little motherfucker.
Little piece of shit.
He really is.
Lads,
He really is.
I made up. I brought that
This
up.
is the best podcast I've ever been on.
I swear, I've just got to tell it how it is. I can't help it. Like, as I said, oh my God, he gets like 6 figures a year.
I got stories for days about that piece of shit.
And tries to talk about, like, as I say, he tries to talk about the UFC, saying, oh, they should pay the fighters more, this and that. No, we get paid what we're worth. You know what I mean?
Yep,
I get paid a nice wage. I can't complain. I go and buy watches. You know what I mean? That's how I get down, son. Just like
everybody that comes inside the machine and we start to promote and get behind, the whole thing starts to go like this, you know? And if you look at all the followers that I have on social media, with the exception of It Friday and maybe a couple of other personal things that I do, my whole social media is dedicated to the fighters, promoting the fights and the upcoming guys and what they're doing. I mean, that's what my whole social media is dedicated to, you know, helping build, you know, if you don't know, now you know. We take 2 guys off, 2 different fights off the card that people might not know about, and I let you know why this is going to be a fucking great fight and why it's important you see this fight too, other than just the main card or, you know, the co-main or main event. So for a lot of these guys that say we don't pay, we don't, you know, we don't promote guys, we don't do this, we don't do that. It's just stuff that I don't even waste my time arguing with these scumbags about, you know. I know who I am. I know what we do as a business, and I know what we do for people. And I don't need to talk to the media about it. And you guys all know, every fighter that's under contract, if you want to tell the media what you're paid and how much money you make, that's up to you. You can absolutely, you could go out, you could do this podcast and get all 800 fighters under contract in here and ask them what they get paid and how much money they make. But none of them ever do. Because it's nobody's business but yours.
Yeah.
It's nobody's business what you get paid, you know? And I like to keep it that way. All other sports, you know, every guy's salary comes out and gets paid. And I can tell you this, as you start to get into the crazy money, everybody knowing how much you make isn't a good thing for you personally.
Yeah.
It's just not. But you have the freedom and the right to go tell everybody what you make if you want to.
Yeah,
we don't tell people they can't talk about the money.
Yeah. You're right.
But they don't.
Yeah. You'd rather everyone not know how much you make.
Exactly.
But as you said, like, even sponsorships, I had 1 fight in the UFC, and got £1 million sponsorship off Barstool Sports.
Yep.
That doesn't happen with any other MMA organisation.
Right.
That's what I like to tell people. You know what I mean? Do you think I go and fight on PFL or Bellator or any of them and I get £1 million sponsorship?
No.
Come on, use your head. You know what I mean? People have got a brain out there, but some of them don't use it.
And this is all the stuff, you know, the narrative that, you know, all these scumbags out there go with. And you never hear me come out and say, well, I don't give a I don't give a If you don't like what we're paying and you think we don't pay guys enough, start your own organization, pay them whatever you want. PFL's paying good money, you know, but all the people that, and I don't want to hit on the PFL because I actually like the guy. So I don't want to, the guy who runs it, who owns PFL, solid guy, solid businessman, paying people good money to fight in this thing. I don't want to say anything bad. I don't want to sound like I'm coming off negative toward him because I'm not. I respect him. And, but you just don't get the same pop that you get over here.
No, you don't. That's a fact. Like, I'm friends with Brendan Loughran, but I think I'd looked at his thing the other day. He might have won the $1 million, but he's only got 60,000 Instagram followers.
Yep.
And I've got nearly 2.4 million.
And all those things put together are so important for you, not only during your career, but when you retire.
Yeah.
Very, very important.
100%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people can talk about that, obviously winning $1 million, but I'm probably going to earn more than that in a couple of months.
Guarantee it. Guarantee it.
That's. I had to bring that up though. As I say, Ariel's a piece of shit, and let's just get that back in there. I had to bring that up because it annoys me when people talk about fighter pay. We get paid what we're worth. You know what I mean? And it also annoys me though when other fighters say about me, "Oh, he's getting pushed more than anyone else." I'm not. I just create better content than all of you. You know what I mean? Just because yous couldn't sell a Bible to an Orthodox Christian. You know what I mean? Like, it's mad. People say, oh, he's getting pushed. It's not. My numbers are just better than yours. Simple as that.
You're a smart kid. You're a smart kid. No, it's exactly right. Listen, some people, I say it all the time, some people have that thing. They have that it factor. There's some guys out there that are incredibly talented, and people don't care until they get to a certain level, and then they start to notice. And then there's guys like you, Conor McGregor, Sugar Sean O'Malley, and the list goes on, of guys who have come. It was like what I saw in Chuck Liddell when I first met Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell had this style at the time that people liked. He had a great personality. When you think Ultimate Fighter, he looks like what you would consider an Ultimate Fighter. It's just Chuck had that thing, and people loved him. They loved his style, and he made a load of money. And you know, some people have it and some people don't. It's not that one guy's being pushed more than the other. What happens is when a guy like you comes in and people love you and people are attracted to you, you just seem like you're getting pushed more because you're the guy that everybody wants to talk to and the guy that everybody wants to do deals with. And the problem is not just in this sport, but in life, other people get jealous of guys who do well instead of saying, well, you know what? Maybe I should try to act more like this guy. Maybe I should be more like this guy. Maybe I should try to change my, the way that I present myself or fight or whatever it might be. Now they just want to hate.
Yeah, that is it. I get so much hate for it, and it's crazy because, as you say, people
enjoy it.
I know that's it. It's a
I
good
love
thing.
the hate. I embrace the hate. Bring me all the hate in the world. I love it.
Yeah, I've had to embrace it. You know what I mean? I just take it in my stride, and I love proving the haters wrong.
Yep.
It gives a little warm, fuzzy feeling inside.
It's the best feeling in the world, man. I love it. That's what I loved the most about COVID. The end of COVID, I got to shove it up all these little journalists' ass right after COVID was over, and we got through it. Yeah, all these little who were running and hiding and talking about how I was going to kill everybody and all this other stuff. You don't hear them now, do you? They're all wishing that never happened.
Yeah,
wishing they never shot their mouths off. We were all in the same boat during COVID. We were all wondering what was going to happen or how this was going to play out. But my thing was, I mean, if this is it, if this thing's that dangerous and it's going to kill this many people, we're all screwed anyway, right? I mean,
yeah, facts.
We're going to hide from a virus? It doesn't even make sense to me. I'm going out guns a-blazing, buddy. We're going to make this happen. And the other thing that I had access to was Abu Dhabi because they were already testing in Abu Dhabi. In the United States, we weren't at that level yet. They were already testing in Abu Dhabi and doing all this stuff. Well, if they can do it, why can't we do it? It's just a money issue. We're going to have to figure I got another space right over here that's all wide open. I was going to build a lab in here. I was going to find some scientists, build a lab, and start figuring out how to test and start testing the athletes. And I actually had Sheikh Taknoon from Abu Dhabi sent me 5,000 tests at the beginning of the thing, but it couldn't come through customs. So it sat in customs in LA, and they all got ruined.
Yeah.
But I wasn't taking no for an answer. I was going to figure it out.
Yeah, that saved our sport. You know what I mean?
Sure did. Took the thing to a whole nother level.
And it kept feeding the fighters' families. You know what I mean? People were moaning and complaining, but none of us fighters were. You know what I mean? It was all people that had never stepped foot in the cage in their life and still had money coming in off their job.
None of your business. So what if you don't like journalists? What have you ever done? What have you accomplished in life? What have you built? How many people have depended on you for a paycheck and to feed their families? None. You creepy motherfuckers. None of your opinions matter to anybody.
No, they don't.
All they do is try to incite fear and try to make people afraid to make decisions. And if you make a decision, then they try to attack you. They're a bunch of zeros who have never accomplished anything. And why anybody listens to any of these people is beyond me.
Yeah. Yeah. Journalists.
We got a great crowd in here today at the podcast.
A great crowd, though. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, you're not wrong there, though. Everyone said it couldn't be done, and then you just proved to everyone that it could. And then, thanks to the likes of yourself doing it, my promotion I was fighting on at the time, Cage Warriors, did the same thing. And Cage Warriors was doing shows behind closed doors. It was weird, like, fighting behind closed doors, but it was worth it. You know what I mean? As long as we can fight.
And it worked out great. It was great television, too.
Yeah.
You know, some things without a crowd isn't great TV. These fights are so good, so exciting, and the fighters are so talented. You didn't need one person sitting in that arena for it to still be great.
Yeah.
And at the time, people were just chomping at the bit for anything new. Everything on TV was a rerun. There were no sports. I mean, I would have watched just about it. I would have watched beer pong, for Christ's sake, if it was on TV. What's that? Cornhole.
What's that?
Cornhole became big during COVID.
What's cornhole?
You know where you take the bean bags and you throw it over to the other guy's thing and it goes in the hole?
Yeah.
That was on ESPN and people were watching
That was
shit.
on ESPN?
Yeah. Cornhole started to grow during COVID, you know?
I didn't know that. That's
we would have
brilliant.
watched anything on TV. That was a sport back then. It was just, you don't realize how important live sports are until they're gone.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah, it was incredible.
With like the Apex, the way you touched on it then, well, the Apex is still going, even though we're going to be going back to Canada and Africa and Korea and stuff, is the Apex card still going to be happening?
No, there'll be less of that in 23.
Yeah.
There'll be more shows on the road. Like these fight nights that we're doing, there'll be more on the road than over at the Apex.
Yeah.
We're going to get back out on the road. International, hitting cities in America that we haven't been to in a while, hitting cities in other countries with fight nights that we haven't been in a while. So we're going to really try to ramp it up and get back to, like 2019 in 23.
As you say, it was very different fighting in the Apex, especially having my debut there, because I think there was only like 200 people in the crowd or something like that.
Right.
But it helped me. I've said to my coach and said this before, like, I can remember Cormier saying, oh, he's losing this round though. And I just went, am I losing this round? Am I? Yeah. Am I losing this round? Sound bit down on me gummy and just started brawling. You know what I mean? And then he got finished.
It is
you know
crazy.
I mean?
You can hear every word in that place.
You can hear every single thing someone
yeah.
says, and you're like, am I losing this? Yeah.
Plus, they have the headphones on,
so they can't hear how loud they are.
Louder than exactly.
But
I've heard multiple guys say that about the Apex. Like they'll be in there and they'll hear the commentator saying something that pisses them off, and yeah, I've heard multiple guys say that.
Yeah, that is what got me. I'll be honest. It was I heard Daniel Cormier go, "Oh, he's losing this round. though. He said he's going to be the next big star, but he's losing this round." So I thought, am I? Yeah, he's getting finished right now. Then I'm not getting into the second round. He's getting finished straight away. And I just, as I say, I bit down on my gummy and started punching.
Right. I love it.
That was it. The rest was history. But
well, that's the other thing. Seeing big fights in there is you can hear every punch, every kick. It's a unique experience to see a fight in Apex.
When Ngannou fought Miocic,
exactly,
the noises of them punches, it was like,
exactly. Oof. That's a good point.
And
good example.
I'll never forget years ago though, being cage side for our former teammate Rosie Sexton when she fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk before she ever comes to the UFC, and I'd never heard a woman punch like that. Like the connection on each punch, what she threw, what hit Rosie. You just knew she was destined for greatness as soon as you saw that.
The first night that she fought in the UFC, I literally she went back and did medicals and all that, and I had them bring her back out and sit with me for the rest of the fights because I just wanted to talk to her and whatever. And obviously, she lived up to all the hype that she had coming in. Joanna Jędrzejczyk is one of the greatest of all time. And when you see a woman fight the way that she fights, as technical as she is and as powerful as she is, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is. As I say, that was with a crowd as well. When she fought in London with a crowd, and I could hear the noise of every single punch, what landed, every single one, and I was like, who is this woman?
It's true.
Because it was in like 2011 or 12, and it was like, I'd never seen a woman punch and kick like that ever in my life.
I know, me too. That's how I felt when I saw it the first time.
It was scary. But yeah, know what? We spoke about all sorts. But I have a Ask Paddy segment at the end of my podcast. Okay. So people have sent some questions in for you. So I'll obviously ask a few of them now. The first one is from, I normally say the name, but that's user QHK. Get a proper name, lad. You know what I mean? What am I meant to do with that? As UFC president, you must have formed some incredible friendships with your fighters. Who are the top 3 fighters you are closest to and why?
Yeah, obviously in the earlier days, when we first bought this company, I think we only had, I want to say we had 18 contracts, like 18 people were under contract because the old owners were so, they were in such a hole financially that they couldn't afford to have all these fighters under contract. So Then we took over and we started to sign people and get people in. But like the old crew from Chuck Liddell, Matt Hughes, Rich Franklin, and all the guys from sort of that era. I mean, those guys used to come to my house for Christmas and 4th of July and things like that. I would always have them over. Conor McGregor, when he first came in, I was very high on Conor. But probably the three, Chuck Liddell, Ronda Rousey, her and I are still super close. She actually, the stuff that you were saying earlier when we were talking about the fighter pay and all that other stuff, she still to this day sends me texts of like her home that she has in Hawaii. She's got a home in Southern California. She built some crazy, zombie apocalypse ranch in Oregon or something like that. She's got all these different places, and she'll still send me a text and say, this is all because of you. And thank you so much for believing in me and giving me the platform to change my life. And, she just had a baby and all that stuff. So, yeah, she's one of the all-time greatest athletes that I've ever worked with. And, Chuck Liddell and I were so close. I used to manage him first, and then he, I brought him into the UFC when we bought it. The UFC wouldn't take Chuck Liddell. That they didn't like him. They didn't think he had what it took.
Didn't think he had what it took?
No. The old owners of the UFC. Chuck Liddell was unsigned. At the time when I was his manager, I was trying to get him in the UFC, and they didn't want him.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
He's another fighter the sport wouldn't be where it is today without him.
100%. He's definitely one of the big time pioneers, of the sport. And even a guy like George St. Pierre, who he and I have had, our moments and our whatever, but he's one of the greatest, nicest guys in the world. And, I still to this day have a good relationship with George, and a lot of the guys from the early days. Yeah. Usman, I have a great relationship with Usman. Love Usman, and I know I'm leaving a bunch of people out because you put me on the spot with that one. But yeah,
he's a great fighter. Usman, he needs to start wearing a t-shirt more though.
Yeah,
definitely. Next one, Thomas McGrath. Who's the most intimidating fighter that Dana's come across? Looks, energy, weigh-ins, standoffs, post-fight, whatever. Who's the scariest guy who's been around?
That's a great question. I'll tell you. Always when you're fucking around with the heavyweights, like Derek Lewis. Like when Derek Lewis comes to a stare down, the only thing that makes him even where he's a little bit not scary is that he actually has a sense of humor, and he's funny sometimes. But God forbid you get in there with Derek Lewis and he doesn't like the other fighter. You know what I mean? I was in between him and another guy one time, and at the face-off, and I started trying to stop. It's just like I might as well not even be there. I mean, if these guys want to do something, they're gonna throw me into the third row, and there's not a thing I can do about it. Derek Lewis, when you touch him and try to, he's one of the most powerful dudes that I've ever been in there with on a face-off. Yeah, and I'll try to. Like, I can't remember who the other guy was, but they were both kind of getting in each other's face, and I tried to stop it, and I was just like, this is unbelievable how powerful these two are, And John Jones is definitely one of those guys, too. John Jones is a freak of nature, but one of the scariest, most intimidating dudes out there right now is Pereira.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
When you look at the guy, he looks like a stone cold killer. And off the top of my head again, those are the three that come to mind.
Yeah. Well, after getting told a few stories last week, one more comes to mind for me. He's not a UFC fighter, but an MMA fighter, Lee Murray. He's a scary man.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I actually ran into Lee Murray right after he got stabbed. Right?
Well, he got stabbed in the heart, didn't he?
He got stabbed everywhere. It stabbed wounds all over him, and they were still fresh. Like he had just got stabbed. I had a buddy who got stabbed in Boston when we were younger. And these dudes tried to kill him. He was never the same. He literally moved out of the city. Head was all fucked up. Didn't want to go out a lot and shit like that. After somebody tries to kill you, and you realize how easy it is to die if some dudes wanted to kill you. He wasn't the same. Days after Lee Murray got stabbed. He's walking around a event with all the stitches still in him and everything still fresh, and was walking around acting like he did when I had seen him when he fought Tito in the street out in front of China White in London.
I know I've heard that story. He dropped him, didn't he? Put Tito a kip.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, Lee Murray is one of the most legit gangsters of all time. He really is.
Next question from William Sutton. Please ask Dana what his take on having weight categories every £10 are and introducing an £160 division. You must get asked this all the time.
Yeah, there's never going to be.
And there's never going to be a definitive answer for that. I was thinking that there.
Not going to happen.
Menace Plays asks, what are your thoughts on cross-promotion shows, for example, having one FC champs against UFC champs, for example, or even hosting exhibition matches? We don't do exhibitions, lad. We're a professional sport.
Yeah, and why would we do? I mean, if somebody's that good, that's in one of these other organizations, they're going to end up here anyway.
In the UFC anyway, yeah. Fact. Next one, Barry Kerslake. How far off are we from the next UFC event in the UK? Where will it be? Well, it's happening next year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of course.
It's going to be Usman versus Edwards. What's the date on that? March? Yeah, I think it's in March.
Yeah.
And I'll answer this for the people in the UK too. Everybody was asking me about Cardiff.
No.
It's going to be London.
Yeah, thought so.
We looked into it. And
well, I'm guessing March 18th then, because there's a Cage Warriors March 17th.
What's that?
I'm guessing it'll be March 18th. Is that right? Yeah. See, I'm on the ball, I'm on the ball, lads.
You are on the
ball. Jake the Snake asks, it looks like you're still super passionate about being in charge of the UFC, which is super admirable. When were you closest to wanting to just get out and take a much-deserved hiatus? That's a good question.
I've never felt that way. I just felt, when you hear the story about when we sold, and the Fertiters like, nobody's going to buy this thing unless you stay. I just went through this transition phase because my best friends that I had been, building the sport with for, like 16 years were leaving, and it was just it was a weird time for me. But other than that, man, I love this sport. I love everything about it, and I'm not going anywhere. Yeah.
Just 2 more questions now anyway. Renard Fox asks, how in the world does Dana deal with all the egos in the UFC?
All the egos? Yeah. Ego management is part of the job here. Not only that, I mean, not just egos. The thing that you have to realize is I'm dealing with 800 alpha males and females. You know what I mean? Everybody here is an absolute alpha, and everybody here truly believes that they're the best in the world. And like you were saying, you get these guys saying that you're getting all the attention, you're being this and that. I mean, that's normal for somebody who, I don't want anybody here who doesn't believe they're the best in the world.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for these people who believe they're the best in the world. And yes, we have to deal with some egos, and we have to deal with some nuttiness sometimes. We have to deal with everybody's professional problems. We have to deal with a lot of people's personal problems, and it's part of the business. It just is. And we try to do the best we can. When you have think about this, I have 800 fighters under contract. I have almost 400 employees, and we have a ton of contract people, who aren't necessarily employees, but they're contracted to us. There's another 1,000.
Yeah.
So you have to keep all these people happy, and all these people, you got to be able to work with everyone and try to do the best you can for everybody that works for you. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is, there's very few people who jump ship here, and most of my employees have been with me for 10 years plus. So, we do the best we can to take care of everybody.
Yeah, I'll be here for another 10 years at least, don't worry about that. But last question now anyway. Another mad number, ST3561. Can't you just make names on YouTube no more? What's going on here? Dana has done a lot for the UFC, but what is his biggest personal and professional goal that he wants to achieve before retirement?
Yeah, my whole thing outside of work is my kids. I like being with my kids and watching them grow, and what's next for them. My oldest son is about to be 22 this summer, and he'll be a senior in college. And My younger son, who's going to be 21 this summer, is just started his own company in anime, and they actually just saw the artwork for the first time today for their first comic and anime comic that they're doing. So he's kicking ass. And then my daughter is 16; she's in high school, and I went out with my son Friday night. We went to the football game, and then we went out to a club with him and his friends, and the whole Utah football team came out with us. So I just like hanging with my kids, man. That's it. I really, it's not that I have anything else that I want to achieve. Just want to be happy. Want to see my kids be happy and live good lives, and that's it. It's not like I love kicking ass and conquering at work, but at home I'm just really chill, relaxed, and just hang with my kids.
Perfect place to end it, to be honest. Thank you very much for coming on, Dana.
Thanks for having me. It's the best podcast I've ever been on.
You know that.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to shout out to social medias, anything like that? Tell anyone where to find you, or any of your sponsors, or anything like that?
No, I'm cool, man.
Everyone knows Dana White is anyway.
Well, yeah. This content is so good. I will post this everywhere that we possibly can.
Well, you heard the man himself, eh? Like, follow, subscribe, share it everywhere. Ariel Helwanil's a rat. See you next week.